she's also, not a complete moron. How does one describe a man like Jude? Calm down. Plotting, she is scheming. Definitely recommend this. Hey, it's Betsy. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I decided to make this a bit of a running series on my channel, almost kind of like a bit of a book podcast, but not quite a podcast because there's already way too many podcasts around. I'll be calling this Book Talk, and that's funny because it's meant to sound like a play on words of BookTok and book talk with an American accent, so it's like book talk, You get it? You get it? Okay. I've done a video like this before in mid-January, I think it was. Rounded up everything that I read in the last year as I've gotten back into reading, since I am now firmly back in my book talk, well, not book talk, but in my book reading, book girly era. And as you can see, I've done plenty reading. And this is just some of the books that I've read so far this year, because I've also had like digital copies, I've borrowed books, I've had an ARC, it's been a lot. So as you can see, I've set myself a 2026 reading challenge on Goodreads, and my goal was to read 8 books this year. Well, I say that, but realistically my goal was like 10 or 12, and I'm already on 7 out of 8. Well, actually 7.5, because I'm actually almost through this one currently, but this one will be in the next like a bi-monthly roundup or monthly roundup, however often I decide to film one of these. So that's for next time. One of my best friends got me this for my birthday this year, and I'm obsessed with it. I've been wanting to drink from this for like the last few days since I got back home, and it's so cute. There is no such thing as too many books. Here. But back to the books. Now, if you would have seen my first video of this, then you would have seen that I've read this one in January. This was one of the first books that I read in like the new year. So if you want my more detailed review of this one, you'll have to watch that video. It'll be linked in the eye and in the description. But getting back to the books that I read in the last 2 months in January and February, I did want to initially make this into a monthly thing, but with all the chaos of like traveling and getting lost in different content ideas and everything, I did not get the chance to do that. And also I did not have my full setup that I normally would because I was traveling. So I suppose I could make this series like a bi-monthly thing, so like every 2 months, because waiting for the Q1 of 2026 or Q2 quarterly book reads feels like it would be too long of a wait, but also monthly feels like it would be then too much, Well, let me know in the comments what I should do if you prefer a bi-monthly, quarterly, monthly update on the books I've read. So technically the second book that I read in January was Chilled and Thrilled by Cleo White. The cover of this is really pretty, it's really cute, and also it's a really, as you can see how skinny it is, it's quite a short story. I think it's like less than 200 pages. It's like 180. Let me check. Yep, it's 168 pages. So a very short little story. Very digestible. I feel like I always keep saying that word, but it really is. I really enjoyed this one. It's really cute. So this is a best friend's dad, age gap, kind of forbidden romance, kind of work romance. Well, work romance trope book, and it's just a very positive, very wholesome read for the most part. Actually, not for the most part, it's almost entirely, it's very cozy. I would describe this as a very cozy romance. The FMC, that's female main character for those who don't know, is kind of your average Gen Z late millennial girl. She's a bit socially awkward, she's kind of quirky, but not to like cringe Disney levels, if you know what I mean. She has her insecurities, but she's also, not a complete moron. And the MMC, male main character, Bram Vogel. Can we have a moment? Would it be inappropriate for me to say that I briefly fell in love with this man? He's not like it's not like the typical, in like age gap romances, there's always like the dominant, older, daddy male trope. He's not really like that. He's very reassuring, he's very caring, and not really that dominant at all. He's not very intense, which I appreciate. He genuinely just wants to care for the FMC, and their relationship that blossoms. It blossoms really organically, and it's really wholesome, and they really try to lift each other up, which is really nice. And of course they both feel a bit guilty about the whole best friend's dad aspect and age gap part of it, but ultimately it doesn't end up being a big deal. Kind of a spoiler, I don't know if that's a spoiler. And they have a very wholesome, supportive, wonderful relationship. If you're in search of a wholesome, cozy, short little romance that's gonna lift your spirits, then I would highly recommend this book. The next book I read was Savage Deal by Ella Jade. This one I had very mixed feelings on, not gonna lie. So this is meant to be, I would say, is a age gap romance, a mafia romance, dark romance, kind of Beauty and the Beast-like elements in the sense that she's basically held captive in this a little bit, like for her own good. Now, I had very mixed feelings about this, as you may be able to tell. I did enjoy it overall, but there were times where the FMC was, I don't know, I feel like she didn't always make the best decisions. Overall, not a complete moron, again, which I appreciate. I think my main problem in this was with the MMC. Jude is How does one describe a man like Jude? Obviously, it's very spicy, and he is very dominant over her, and he's a very no-nonsense, no bullshit kind of person, which makes sense considering his line of work. I mean, the mysterious mafia-style connections and whatever, and like, how do I say this without getting demonetized? The drug trafficking that he partakes in. I'm trying not to get this video deleted, but it's hard when you're talking about dark romance on the internet. He does look out for the FMC in this and does take care of her, and you know, he spoils her a lot, gives her all the things that she never had growing up and tries to understand her. But he was also such a control freak. At times, like to the point of he was genuinely like a crazy person. It was kind of annoying. Like sometimes he was straight up like rude to the FMC. I don't know, he was just doing too much at times. Like, you don't need to pop off on this girl with trauma so much, sir. Calm down. Yeah, I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. He would kind of flip-flop between like being really affectionate, really supportive, and then being really almost borderline abusive physically and like emotionally. So it is a dark romance. You are going to have things like that happen. It's just to be expected. I mean, especially with like mafia romances, but it is what it is, really. I did enjoy it though. I did not hate this book. It's just I was annoyed at various times with a couple characters. The next book I read was Scarred by Emily McIntyre. Now, I do not have this book physically because I ended up borrowing my friend's copy while I was traveling. Now, if you're familiar with Emily McIntyre's books, or if you've seen my previous video where I read her book Hooked, you will already know that she has a series of fairy tales or classic stories reimagined in like modern alternate universe settings. And Scarred was meant to be a kind of retelling of The Lion King from obviously the villain's perspective. Actually, that whole book series is told from mostly like the villain's perspectives. I ended up giving this a 3.8 out of 5 because it's not quite bad enough to be 3.5, but it's also not great enough to be 4 out of 5. It was one of those books that you have to assist with and it gets better, because when I tell you I was so close to like DNFing, giving up, rage quitting, not rage quitting, but just giving up like the first, I don't know how many pages of the book. It was slow to get into and to develop and be interesting for me personally. So this is a slow burn, dark romance, fairy tale retelling, forbidden romance, and it's very spicy too. I will also add the warning that it is quite graphic with some of the violence. That's something to bear in mind if you're particularly sensitive to that. So the FMC in this, she's not your average meek little girl character. She is a badass, she is plotting, she is scheming. She knows like the weight of her responsibilities for her family, for her people. She wants vengeance, she wants revenge, and she doesn't take shit lying down. The MMC is quite a dark, twisted individual, but with a tragic backstory. Not that that excuses all of his behavior, but it is an explanation as to why things are the way they are and why he behaves the way he does and why he has the reputation that he does. What I enjoyed that there were a lot of interesting twists that I didn't see coming, and also the bond between some of the side characters and the main characters was really cute. You really wanted them to do well, to succeed, be safe, and you really just want the best for the kingdom at the end. So where I personally struggled with the book for like the first third of it, I would say, is just getting all the geography of it right in my head, like imagining the layout, the setup of this kingdom and who's doing what where. You know, there's a lot of names being thrown of places and people and things. So that was a bit tough for me personally to get used to. But also like the time period that it's set in. Like you go into this thinking that it's kind of like a medieval setting because of like, you know, castles, gods, all of that stuff, and just some of the general way in which the characters speak. But I think this is actually set in like the 1910s or 1920s. I did do a fair amount of skim reading over some of the setting descriptions of the scenes, of what a room looks like. I don't really care about it that much, to be honest. And there was also a lot of repetition of the characters' trauma. It sounds really bad, but like we get it. Bad things happened. It is bad because of XYZ, but we don't need to keep repeating exactly what happened. And then the other big thing that I disliked about this was just the overuse of the word nausea and bile, just the constant referring sickness. If I read those words one more time, I was genuinely going to crash out. Stomach twisting, bile surging, like, excuse me? Doing too much. The ending was very intense, and you know, with all the plot twists, high stakes, intensity of it all, battle sequences and characters forced apart and then reunited. It's a very riveting book in the end. It's just that the first portion of the book is a bit slow to get into and can be a bit convoluted with some of the names of places, where things are, and what era it's set in. But if you can get past all that and you can, you know, persist, it does get better, and it is an enjoyable book at the end of the day. Also, the spice was spicy. Just adding that there. So the next book I read was A Hunt So Wild and Cruel by Rebecca F. Kenny, I want to say. Name can be a bit hard to pronounce, I'm sorry. Let me know if I mispronounced it. I really enjoyed this one. Like, it's a very interesting read. I gave this a 5 out of 5 by all counts. Story, spice, everything nice. Had to do the joke there. Again, this is kind of part of a series of classic story retellings. This is very loosely based on A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It has the same elements of a grumpy, pretty evil main character that's visited by 3 ghosts and is transformed into a better person at the end. Same concept in here. So this was a very interesting read for me because the FMC in this is genuinely a very unlikable person for the first half of the book, I would say. She is just kind of a bitch at various times. Like, as you get more into the book, you genuinely find yourself thinking, wow, is it even possible to transform this woman? Like, can she be redeemed? And spoiler, ultimately, if you're familiar with the original tale, she is. But there are many times where you do question if this is a redeemable person that can change or is willing to change. So this is a fae romance, dark romance, classic story retelling. Why choose reverse harem? Y'all already know how I feel about those. If you know, you know. Watch the previous video after watching this one, I'm telling you. So I've seen some reviews of this where people were just really outraged by the appearance of some of the characters in this, and like they really didn't like it. They thought it was too much over the top. Why do they have piercings? Why do they have like X, Y, Z colored hair? And I get that. It is a bit weird. Not everyone has the same kind of taste or attraction. Not everyone's into more punk looking aesthetics, and that's fine, that's normal. I did not have a hard time imagining the characters as being hot, really. They have very unique, interesting names that might be a little bit hard to pronounce for some people, but you know, you get past that, it's not a big thing. The male main characters in this were so hot, like for various reasons. They all have their own distinct, unique personalities, and they take care of the FMC in different ways. Like, they each try to teach her different things to try and get her to see the light, if you will, and to become a better person. So in that sense, it really does follow the original story of A Christmas Carol, because you have the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, respectively. I also enjoyed the twists in this towards the end, and there are some epic fight moments in this as well, so if you're a fan of action and high stakes romance, then you will enjoy this, I think. And again, just who doesn't love a good why choose reverse harem? I mean, make of that what you will. I'm not saying nothing. But yes, 5 out of 5. Very spicy, very fun. I really enjoyed the spice in this as well. Love all the characters, love the story. Would definitely recommend, highly recommend. After finishing A Hunt So Wild and Cruel, the next book that I got was actually an ARC, so an advanced reader copy or a digital early access, basically, of the next Sadie Kincaid book that's coming out in April. And that was The Auction by Sadie Kincaid. The Auction is a dark romance. I don't know if I would say it's a mafia romance. It's not, but it is pretty dark, especially considering, you know, current circumstances of the world. But even on its own, as a standalone book, like regardless of current global events, it is a very good book. It's a very strong story. I really enjoyed it. It's pretty spicy, some drama, action, some graphic violence, but nothing excessive. So the tropes of this: age gap, forbidden romance, Beauty and the Beast style storyline, dark romance. It's not a mafia romance, but it is like a dark underground kind of stuff that we're dealing with. And it's a dual point of view telling, so you get a glimpse into the psyche of both the FMC and the MMC respectively. And you really do get a sense, an exact sense of how they in that moment envision everything that's happening, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and you understand both their perspectives, both sides. So if there's something that they might disagree about, or there's a situation unfolding and they both have different ideas about it, you understand both of their points. Like, you see both sides of the thing, you know? So if that was a bit of waffling, I'm not sure how to describe it. I hope you know what I mean. You feel the gradual growth, the connection, and it's not like insta-lust per se, so they don't like immediately fall head over heels for each other or like want to do each other or anything like that. It's a bit more gradual than that. This is part of a duology, by the way, so there will be a sequel to this. Usually books that are like two-parters or have multiple follow-ups tend to have quite abrupt endings, but this one I felt was a bit more gradual. It wasn't, you know, like one crazy out of nowhere thing happens right at the end and boom, that's the end of the book, by the next one. There was more lead up to that. There was a bit more drama, there was a bit more action, but this one wasn't so jarring. Like, it wasn't like some insane cliffhanger that just boom, whacks you over the head. Overall, I did really enjoy this and I would absolutely recommend. I like the chemistry of the characters. I like how they grew to care for each other, and overcome the whole forbidden romance aspect of it. And I'm very intrigued to see where it goes in the sequel. And then my last read in February, the end of February, was Potions and Prejudice by T. Harlow. Look how beautiful this is. Like, look at this limited edition hardcover. Sprayed edges and all. Ah, it's just so beautiful. Look how pretty this is. Also, there's some artwork in this. So you've got a little map here of the town. And it also came with some, I don't know if this is fan art or if there's like these little drawings came with the book. Got this, which is really cute. It's so like Disney coded, the art style of this. It's just adorable and I love them. Also, hello, this is literally signed by the author. I got a signed special edition copybook. Oh my goodness, I have none of those. So great to start a collection perhaps. It even has its own like built-in little bookmark, which was so convenient for traveling. I really love this book. It was so cute. Like I almost didn't want to finish this. So again, this is based on a classic story, a very popular story, Pride and Prejudice. It's enemies to lovers. It's very cozy. It's a classic story retelling. It's a witchy supernatural romance. And it's just really, really cute. It's such a cozy read. If you are someone that loves a good cozy romance read, definitely recommend this. There is a little bit of spice in this as well. Nothing crazy, nothing hardcore, nothing frequent, just a couple scenes written in where it made sense for the characters. I actually really enjoyed the fact that it doesn't overdo spice, like in a lot of books where it's just thrown in there for the sake of being there. This was a very well woven together story, which I really appreciate and really enjoyed. I also love the names of the characters in this again, like how old school and witchy they are, and just like the FMC is called Elspeth. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the MMC's name. I will put it on screen, but that was the one thing that I had kind of a hard time with, pronouncing the MMC's name in my head while I was reading it. I kept going back and forth over his name, like rereading it. Yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce it, but that's a very minor thing. This really is like enemies to lovers. They start off hating each other. They don't like each other at all. They each think that the other person is an a-hole. But then by the end, of course, that changes. A very wholesome, very happy ending. There's not a lot of high stakes drama in this. A lot of romance books, they have the kind of midpoint conflict where it's really intense or like the characters break up or something. There are elements of that, but it's not stressful. Conflict is resolved relatively quickly in this, wherever it arises. I do believe there is supposed to be a sequel coming out for this sometime. I'm not sure when exactly, and I will need to confirm that. But if there is another one of this series, The Moonflower Witches, I would absolutely love to read that. And I cannot wait to read more of this author. And now getting on to my TBR list, my to be read, which is forever expanding by the day, it seems. Every other day I get a new book recommended to me on Instagram while I'm just scrolling or flicking through stories, and then, oh, what's this shiny new book that pops up? I don't know if I'm ever gonna get through my TBR list. It's almost like a curse, like you're never gonna be able to finish it. I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. I am now part of that club as well. But that being said, currently I am reading Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm probably butchering it, but let me know how to pronounce it if you know. I'm almost finished with this. I think I can probably finish this tonight, so I'll do an updated review on that on Goodreads soon, so that'll be linked in the description as well, by the way. So Tusk Love is what I'm currently reading, and for my next set of books that I'd like to read, I have a little list here. And actually, I have two of them already here. So I've got Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and then Prince of Prohibition by Marilyn Marks. This is another special edition hardback that I got while I was in Manchester. You may have seen already where I went in Manchester to a Romantasy book pop-up. I'll link that somewhere as well if you want to see that. And I got this while I was there. Pretty hefty, so this may be on a bit of a backlog for me because there are other books that I'd like to read first, and then I'll read this longer one. So the next set of books that I'd like to read in the next coming months would be Twisted Love by Anna Huang, second edition by Cleo White, Out of Sight by Cleo White. Can you tell I'm really trying to get more into her books? The Serpent's Bride by Catherine Ann Kingsley, and The Serpent's Sin. So that's a duology, and actually the sequel of that just came out in January, I believe. So I'll be looking to read that now that I can read them back to back because the sequel's just come out. Then we've got Unbound by Sadie Kincaid, which will be the sequel to the book Cursebound, which I read last year and featured in my previous book talk episode. I believe that comes out in late May, so I'll be looking out for that. And then of course, Prince of Prohibition by Marilyn Marks. So I've got like another 7 odd books to read here. I am telling you, I will be flying through my book reading goals this year. I'm already technically on my 8th book, I believe. Yay! My list of books to read on Goodreads is so long and forever expanding. There's just so much interesting content out there. There's so many good books, so many good stories, a lot of great authors out there that deserve all the support in the world, honestly. Power to them for some of the books that they put out and like the rate at which they're putting out books too. And shout out to the self-published indie authors as well. It's it can be tough out there. Everyone wants to write a book nowadays. I've also considered writing a book at various times in the last years, so there you go. So there you have it. That's everything that I read in January and February so far this year. That's my bi-monthly book talk update. Again, let me know in the comments if the format of this suits you, if I should keep this as a bi-monthly thing, or if this should be a monthly update or a quarterly update. I can do an updated version of that. And let me know if there's anything else I should read. Not that I need to add more books to my list of books that I still need to read, but if there are any similar recommendations that you have, drop them down in the comments below. And let me know if you've read any of these books that I've mentioned in this video, and if you have, what you thought of them. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Be sure to like and subscribe, and when you subscribe, don't forget to hit the little bell icon so that you're notified whenever I next upload a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!